Samyutta Nikaya SN 12.61a Sutava Sutta, Unlearned Common Person. Body, emotional mind, thinking mind and perception. I have heard. At one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's grove, Anathapiṇḍika's monastery. Monks, when it comes to this body kaya, made up of the four primary elements, an unlearned common person might become disillusioned, dispassionate, and freed. Why is that? This body made up of the four primary elements is seen to grow and decline, to be taken up and laid to rest. That's why, when it comes to this body, an unlearned common person might become disillusioned, dispassionate, and freed. But when it comes to that which is called emotional mind or Citta, thinking mind or Mano, and perception or Vinnana, an unlearned common person is unable to become disillusioned, dispassionate, or freed. Why is that? Because for a long time they've been attached to them, thought of them as their own, and mistaken it. This is mine, I am this is myself. That's why, when it comes to these three, an unlearned common person is unable to become disillusioned, dispassionate, and freed. But an unlearned common person would be better off taking this body made up of the four primary elements to be their self, rather than the emotional mind or Citta. Why is that? This body made up of the four primary elements is seen to last for a year, or for 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, or 100 years, or even longer. But what is called emotional mind or Citta, thinking mind or Mano, and perception or Vinnana, arises as one thing and ceases as another all day and all night. It's like a monkey moving through the forest. It grabs hold of one branch, lets it go, and grabs another, then it lets that go and grabs yet another. In the same way, that which is called emotional mind or Citta, thinking mind or Mano, and perception or Vinnana, arises as one thing and ceases as another all day and all night. In this case, a learned noble disciple carefully and focus attention to dependent of origination or concurrence of logical antecedents or paticca samuppada itself. When this exists, then that is present. When this arises, then that arises. When this doesn't exist, then that is not present. When this ceases, then that ceases. That is, insentient is a condition for constructions. Constructions are a condition for perception. Perceptions are a condition for constructed entity and identity. Constructed entity and identity are a condition for experiencing 6 sense fields. Experiencing 6 sense fields are a condition for cognition of environment. Cognition of environment are a condition for feeling. Feelings are a condition for emotional reaction of feeling. Emotional reaction of feeling are a condition for personalization of the subjective experience. Personalization of the subjective experience are a condition for coming into existence imaginary self in an imaginary world. Coming into existence are a condition for birth past. Birth past are a condition for aging present, and death of the body future, as well as grief, lamentation, pain, depression, and exhaustion which start this existence in the world. That is how this entire mass of suffering originates. When insentient fades away with nothing left over, with no emotional desire, and cease, then constructions will cease. When constructions cease, then perception will cease. When perceptions cease, then constructed entity and identity will cease. When constructed entity and identity cease, then experiencing 6 sense fields will cease. When experiencing 6 sense fields cease, then cognition of environment will cease. When cognition of environment cease, then feelings will cease. When feelings cease, then emotional reaction of feeling will cease. When emotional reaction of feeling cease, then personalization of the subjective experience will cease. When personalization of the subjective experience cease, then coming into existence imaginary self in an imaginary world will cease. When coming into existence cease, then birth past will cease. When birth past cease, then aging present, and death of the body future, as well as grief, lamentation, pain, depression, and exhaustion will stop. That is how this entire mass of suffering ceases. Seeing this, a learned noble disciple grows disillusioned with mental image, mental feeling, mental sensation, mental construction, and mental perception or consciousness. Being disillusioned, emotional desire fades away. When emotional desire fades away, they're freed. When they're freed, they know they're freed. They understand. Rebirth has ended. The spiritual journey has been completed. What had to be done has been done. There is no return to any state of existence. End of discourse.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa